Hello. What a morning I had. I've just got back from work, it's almost 6, and the evening should be chill and easy and good and fine and whatever, but this morning was something. I wouldn't say I have good luck, but I generally have reasonable luck. Certainly not bad luck. It's very rare for me to have really bad luck. But today I think was the culmination of a year's worth of bad luck. And in the end, it was still all okay. I consistently get to this job too early. No matter how hard I try, I am always at least 10 minutes early. Which generally isn't a bad thing, but there are times when I'm there and I just know it's not necessary for me to be there. And so this morning, I really said to myself, I could feel I was quite tired, and so I said to myself, right, we're gonna try and sleep in as late as possible, we're gonna try and leave the house as late as possible, because the truth is, I have an hour buffer zone. The front-facing stuff doesn't start until 10, and I start work at 9. So if I'm 10 minutes late, or even half an hour late, it's not gonna be the end of the world. So I did all that, and then I still felt like I was gonna leave early, but in the end I decided to change my jewellery and do the dishes, just because I felt, I have the time, I need to trust myself, let's go for it. And I still ended up leaving, 3 or 4 minutes earlier than I'd sort of said to myself, but, we'll accept it. As I'm walking to the tube, my shoe breaks, which I should have seen coming because the zip was struggling a little bit yesterday, and today it just completely blunk. And I got to the station, and the next tube was 6 minutes away. Now, for anyone who's not from London, that doesn't sound crazy. That still sounds very reasonable. For anyone who's from London and you're paying peak fares, a 6-minute away train is ridiculous. So I wasn't thrilled, and the platform was obviously very full, but I decided to try and fix my shoe if I could. I thought it might be because it was the zip problem. I thought maybe if I went down and then back up, it would fix it. But even trying to get it down was a struggle, so I spent about 5 of those 6 minutes struggling with my shoe, only for it not to make a difference. Anyway, I get on the tube, and a couple of stops in, they make the announcement that it's going to terminate early. And I was just if I'd known this, I would have maybe taken the bus or something to work. I would have taken a different route. So I'm trying to plan my route, and I figure I should probably be able to make it either just on time or 4 minutes late. But it should be okay. Now, thankfully, my knee is reasonable today. Yesterday, if you've been following my running stuff, I get pain after I run, and yesterday I was hobbling to work, my journey was slowed down by I think about 3 or 4 minutes, whereas today it was normal, so I could speed walk, as I often do. But because this train was terminating there, the station was packed, so trying to get out was really tough. So I'm trying to weave my way through, and I'm going walking up the escalators rather than just standing. And I make it to the gates where you tap out, and I've got my headphones in, I'm listening to music, and I think I hear someone behind me say my name. But it sounded like they were saying it to someone else, and although Raquel is not a super common name, I was maybe I just misheard, I might have just heard the L part of it, and there are enough names that end in L. So I was just I'll ignore it. And then I heard my name again, so I turned around, and there was someone that I worked with 3 years ago when I worked in Greece. I didn't actually work with this person then, but we rehearsed together. And just what are the chances? So it was lovely to see them because I've not seen them in 3 years, but equally I was I don't have time for conversation right now, I am running late. But I didn't want to be rude, and luckily the first part of our journey was the same way, so we chatted until we had to split, and then I said goodbye, and it didn't add too much to my journey. I did walk a little bit slower with them, but it was okay. And then I just sped walked as fast as I could to my work, and not long after I leave this person, I feel something land and on my top, and I just thought it might be a leaf or something, and I looked down and you guessed it, it was bird poop, just a solid chunk. It was disgusting, and I honestly at that point I just laughed. I was of course, why not? So I kept walking because there was nothing I could do in that situation. I don't even think I have tissues in my bag or anything, and I was just I need to get to work. I know there are bathrooms at work, and I'll just rinse it there. I literally got to the office bang on 9 o'clock. So in the end, as I say, even with all the bad luck in the world, so to speak, it was still okay. And proves to me that I did still have more time to spare from leaving home. But anyway, I got into work, and actually luckily my colleague had just happened to have some wet wipes. So I spent a lot of time cleaning the top. It does need to go in the wash. I'm really hoping it hasn't stained. It's very faint, you can't see it that clearly, but obviously I would like it to go. And I was so sad because this morning when I was choosing what top to wear, I was struggling to find a top. And then when I saw this one, I don't think I've worn this one in a while, I was like, oh, that's nice, like this makes me happy, and I'll film a YouTube video tonight and wear the top and it'll be great. And obviously, the second that happened, I was like, right, I guess we're not doing that. So yeah, this morning was quite something, but we made it, it's all good, it's not the end of the world, thankfully. And now I'm home, and game plan for tonight. First of all, I really want to do those leg stretches again, which I need to allow about 15 minutes for. Second of all, I want to prep some pasta for me to take for lunch. The bolognese was really good. I really surprised myself. I'm very proud of myself because I was not expecting it, and yeah, I was very pleased. But it was so funny because when we finished eating, I said to Wayne, do you want to know what the secret ingredients were? And he said, I didn't know there were secret ingredients, and I explained to him, and he was like, why did you make a bolognese sauce? Why didn't you just buy it from the shop, like a dolmio or whatever they're called? And I was like, that is not something that crosses my mind. I'm not really from a family of buying the pre-made stuff. I'm very much from a family of you cook the thing. And don't get me wrong, I take shortcuts, absolutely. But it was just so funny to me because that had not crossed my mind. But anyway, I actually thought this was much tastier than the dolmio sauce, and I was very pleased with it. But there's quite a lot left, and Wayne's gonna have some of it tonight for supper. I'm gonna, I think, just have an egg. But I want to have some of the leftovers for lunch tomorrow. I had it for lunch today as well. But today we still had pasta left over and we won't have enough for tomorrow, so I'm going to cook some pasta for tomorrow. That's what I was getting at. And then I'm also going to do some more roast potatoes, but we used up the boiled potatoes. I don't know if I told you about this. I can't remember if I filmed it or not. I pre-boiled a bunch of potatoes. That was 2 days ago, I think. And those were all used up yesterday. So I'm going to boil more potatoes, then roast them, and then that's going to be the meal. So I'm going to start by boiling the potatoes. Then once they're done, I'm going to put them in the oven, and then I'm going to boil the pasta. And obviously, whilst something's happening, I'll do the stretches, and then I'll do the rest later on. I'm so grateful to past me for having done the dishes. There's one big pot left, but I knew I wasn't going to have the space for it this morning. But it means that now everything else is cleared, and I just need to do that. And you can probably see the Biscoff there. Once I'm sort of set up and got things going, I'm gonna have an apple with some Biscoff. My after work treat. All right, I think that's all the updates I wanted to give you. Oh, and then also the plan for tonight, if I can, is to edit a video. And potentially still film one. We'll see. Not in this top though, but we'll see. Okay, I will see you later. Hello, I've literally just walked in from work and I'm going to the theatre tonight. I'm going to see Evita. I spent a long time debating whether or not to go because I'm leaving tomorrow morning and I had kind of planned to use tonight to do a bunch of stuff. So we'll see how that sort of pans out. But I've got an hour before I need to leave. I'm gonna do as much as I can in that hour and then have to do more tonight. The truth is, the time I'm leaving at tomorrow morning is later than I usually get up for work, so I think I'll be okay. But obviously it would have been good to get some time tonight. But I'm glad I'm going. One of the things I want to do is get everything off my camera onto my computer because I am going to want to vlog loads. So I'm gonna do that, and hopefully my camera will be ready before I go.
No, Friday and Saturday I should be here.
That was so good. That was amazing. That was so good. I'm very warm and I have a lot I need to get done tonight, so we're going to work our way through it and hopefully still get to bed before midnight. We'll see. First and foremost, I'm wearing this top, which I got a couple of years ago from my mum, and I don't wear super frequently because I need to be in the right mood for it. But today, I absolutely have been, and I just feel really me. Which is funny because this top isn't necessarily really me, but I'm feeling it. I also wore these earrings for the first time in a long time, and I've got my gold necklace on, which I haven't had in a while, and I'm wearing a ring again because I'm crazy. And this one's slightly bigger than the other one, so I started it on the index finger, but it was getting in the way, so I moved it to the middle finger. But that's not what we need to talk about. We need to talk about Evita. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, I have been umming and ahhing about seeing Evita since it was first announced. It was one where I was like, if I get a free ticket or, £10, I'll go, but I'm not desperate to see it. And then, the more I've seen and read about it, the more I'm curious. And I do love the songs. I've loved the music of Evita for a very long time. I've loved the songs well before I actually ever saw the movie, which was the first sort of way I ever saw it. And then a couple of years ago, I saw it in Australia, in Melbourne. And this, incomparable. Incomparable. There were some choices I didn't totally agree with. And I know that that's Jamie Lloyd's style, and when I went to see Much Ado About Nothing, I loved it. And I did still love this production. I think I'm going to rate it 4.5 stars, so very good. But there were just some things I didn't fully agree with. I just spent so much time beaming. You just couldn't help but smile at what you were watching. It was so powerful, and the dances were so good, all the vocals across the board were so good. There's been a lot of controversy about Don't Cry For Me Argentina, and I didn't know where I would sit with it, and I thought it was very impressive. I thought it really worked. And Raquel Zegler, obviously she's talented, and I do really enjoy watching her anyway, but she is so watchable. I'm the kind of person who loves watching the ensemble, especially when there's big dance numbers. I love watching the dancers. But in this case, I still did, but it was so much more of an effort to try and watch someone else because Raquel Zegler was just you just wanted to watch every movement that she made. It was just so good. And I haven't listened to the songs in quite a while. For some reason, I haven't got them on my Spotify. And so, hearing all these songs that I know I love and that are so familiar to me, but that I haven't actually heard in so long, was so nice as well. A New Argentina, which is the end of Act 1, just blew me away, blew everyone away. There were multiple numbers with long applause. Not standing ovations, but very long applause. It was just so good. It was so good. And I'm so glad I went, because even tonight, I wasn't sure if I would go. I did end up spending £25, which I really didn't want to. I know that's nothing compared to ticket prices in general, but especially for Evita, and also where I was sat. And that's kind of what ended up being my decider. I knew the opportunity to get such good seats for any less than £25 would be near impossible. But I, literally even after the first number, I was just I am so glad I made the decision to come here. And it's funny because it feels like this year I've taken less of those opportunities where I've, gone to a show for, cheaper rates because I'm too tired or I'm not already in town or whatever. And even though I know that's not true, if you look at it on paper, I've already seen more shows this year than I did in the entirety of last year. But I think they've been slightly more planned. I don't know. But I'm so glad that I set my foot down and said, no, I'm going to see this. Because otherwise what would have happened is the same as what's happened with a number of other shows where suddenly it creeps up to the start of September, and I'm definitely not going to want to do anything the first week of September because that's the week leading up to my half marathon, and then it's closed. And then I regret not having seen it. So I am so glad I went to see it. It was just such a fun, good night. I really enjoyed it. But now I need to do a bunch of other things. And I'd really like to try and get them done before midnight, but as I said earlier, we shall see. I'll see you maybe at the end, if I remember. Yay! Hello. It is 11:45 and I have done, I think, everything that I wanted to do tonight. Obviously, there's going to be some last minute things in the morning, but I feel pretty good. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, which is just something that's been happening all day, is I've been feeling a little bit funky. What fun. And when I say funky, it's usually a mix of anxiety and then a symptom of anxiety that I get. I think it's called derealization. I always get derealization and depersonalization confused. It's the one where you feel like you're in a dream and sort of everything is happening like it's happening and you're watching it. I don't know. And I think in part it probably is just nerves, because even though like I'm not nervous about meeting strangers, which maybe I should be, but I'm not worried about that part. I'm more worried about the social aspect, because I'm just not a social person. I wouldn't necessarily do this kind of thing with friends that I've known, you know, for years. I have known these guys for years, but I can't explain. Like, you know, people I've seen every day, not every day, whatever, you know what I mean? And I do think it's like the social aspect, and then on top of that, you know, the uncertainty. Like, I have no idea in actuality how we are going to get on. It's really weird. Like, we know how we get on digitally, but how does that sort of express itself when we're together in person? I do think it's going to be fun, but there is obviously that like uncertainty. But I think the second reason, which I really do think is a massive factor, is a dream I had last night. Totally unrelated, but it was just about something specific. And this happens to me, I don't want to say frequently, but it's not uncommon, where I'll dream about something that has vaguely been on my mind, and then when it plays out in a dream, it suddenly becomes real, even though it's obviously still a dream, and it just does something to me. It's really weird and hard to explain. And again, I do just think it's like a manifestation of my anxiety. And as I've said many times on this channel, thankfully my anxiety isn't overbearing. It's not going to ruin anything for me. It didn't ruin today. It's not going to ruin the holiday. But I just wanted to point that out, that that's also sort of been happening alongside everything else today, and alongside like the actual genuine excitement I have for tomorrow. I'm so excited. I do think I'm going to sign off here, and we're going to finish this video. It might be a really short video, it might be a really long video, but I want to start a new one for this trip. So unless I've forgotten anything to tell you, I will see you next week, although tomorrow for me, with a very fun and exciting few days ahead. I'm very excited, but I do want to get to bed. Bye! Ooh, good timing.